Thank you. Can you hear me okay, Allie? Very good. I'm going to give it just a few more minutes. See who shows up. Hey, Jamie, how are you? Thank you so much. Okay, if you're here in the room, I have no way of knowing if you are here, so I'm just going to give it about 30 seconds. Please say hi just so I know who's here. And thank you, Allie. I really appreciate your kind words. And I really am. I do realize how important these meetings and these teachings are to people, especially with what's going on now. Very, very good to take a break. And I'll talk a little bit more about that once we get into Satsang. Okay, seems like there's just a few of us here right now. Maybe some people will jump in. Okay, let me start with some announcements, which there really aren't many new announcements. Things just seem to be going the way they are going, and will be going this way for the foreseeable future, um, which is okay. I think it's much more simple this way. It's always nice to be face to face and seeing people's reactions and things like that. We do that on Sundays with Zoom. Uh, hey, Greg, how are you? um, but as for right now, things are just a little bit weird, and we have to be careful of what we do. I would love to get everybody together. I'm hearing the feedback over and over again that people are missing each other and missing seeing each other, and I think that that's such a wonderful thing. Um, that the Peaceful Mind Center peeps are so connected and so wanting to stay connected with one another. I think that's really wonderful. Um, Perhaps there are things that we can do. I just don't know. It's on a day-to-day thing and it changes so frequently that I don't know. So we will be Wednesdays on Facebook Live. We'll be Sundays on Zoom. I will be sending information about that, and steady as she goes. So I hope everyone is well. I am well. I will be talking about how well I actually am in satsang after we meditate. So without any further ado, if anybody has any questions, you can post them now. If not, we're going to get to our meditation. Okay. So again, this is satsang. Hey, Lonnie Camp, how are you? Good to see you. Well, good to see your text. I can't see anything but myself talking to me right now, which is a bit awkward. We're going to start with meditation, and then we will begin satsang. So if everyone sit comfortably and close your eyes, and as you hear the sound of the bell, let it clear your mind and bring your attention to the present moment. And as the bell fades, stay with your attention in the moment, in that clear space in your mind. And we'll begin by taking 3 deep, relaxing breaths together. First deep breath in, exhale. Second deep breath in. And exhale. Third deep breath in. And exhale. Now continue breathing deeply but gently into your abdomen. And I encourage you to breathe more and more slowly until you're breathing as slowly as possible without it being at all uncomfortable. As you're breathing slowly, allow any tension to fall from your body. Concentrate on the neck down at first. You may feel muscles that are contracted as you bring more consciousness to the state of your physical body. With each exhale, let that tension fall away. Now do the same thing with your face, the muscles in your face, particularly around your eyes and throughout your eyebrows, your jaw. As you exhale, let all that tension just be breathed out of you. become present to where you are without thinking about it. Notice what your ears are picking up, but don't label it. What your nose is picking up. Your tongue. Notice the sensations on your skin. And be very aware of your outer world. But don't think about your outer world. Just be aware of it. Welcome, welcome everyone to Satsang. I hope that meditation finds you very present in this moment with me and there are no distractions. Because I've been in an odd space lately, so who knows what's going to come out of me tonight. I take no responsibility. Hello, Kim. Hi, Erica. Erica Bomb. Dawn. Like, who is Erica? Yes, Kim, I really did have a wonderful time that I really want to share with you all. Because I was very, very tired from teaching and working with people and processing people's energies and really processing the energy in the world. I think that we are all have sort of an empathetic nature, meaning that we can feel energies and that there are senses that we have that sort of connect to a collective consciousness or something. You know, these esoteric things I don't like to get too far down the rabbit hole with. But sometimes I do feel like an antenna for the world's energy. And have to be very careful about that, because where your empathetic ability has matured to, depending on who you are and how your practice is or what is just inherent in you, you can be absorbing this energy and not being able to let it go, so it's collecting in you, and that's not something desirable. An empath, trained empath, trained, self-trained, is able to process that negative energy for people and let it go. So you don't want to be holding on to the energy that you're absorbing from people or even generated by the mind body in the form of a psychological formation. You want to be able to process that and release that out to the universe. You don't want to hold on to it. Sometimes, that requires a little time off. And I'm very grateful that I took that time off because I was really needing to push the reset button for myself. I was needing to get really back into my practice and really dig in. I was supposed to go to New Jersey for our annual, summer trip, and just all indications were that that was not a good idea, and enough said about that, so it was canceled. But it gave me an opportunity that I really needed. And so I was really needing to reconnect with myself physically. Most of you know that I've had some herniated discs in my neck that were really quite a problem for the last couple of years and really limited my ability to train, which is very difficult for me. I have a history of personal training for many, many years, and it's always been a big, big part of my life. And I wasn't really able to participate in it in the way that I had wanted to. I found this stuff that I've shared with you guys called Blue Emu Cream. Swear to God, sounds hokey. I put that on my neck. My neck felt 100% better. And it's been allowing me to get back training. I'm back doing, 30, 35 miles on the road, functional training. I really am back to hitting it hard. And so all I focused on for a week was eating right and exercising and meditating. I would get up in the morning, kind of leisurely, head out to the garage, get out on the bike, and head out for as long as felt good to me. The heat's been difficult too. I think the highest I've seen on my temperature gauge was like 104 on the road. So sometimes I'm like seeing things that aren't there when it's that hot. But I got out, and then I came back to the garage. Typically hose myself off. I have a lot of equipment. I set up a functional training area, and I'm doing agility ladders, slide boards, and all kinds of things that I used to do. I really started to feel very good. Then, thanks to Allie, who turned me back onto Rorobex, which is, those of you who don't know, Rorobex is a farmer's market on Military, just a little north of Lantana Road. That's a big, beautiful, very low-priced farmer's market, but they've also put in a juice bar there where you can get like a 32-ounce juice for $10. And so when I was not able or willing to make juice for myself, I would just head out to Rorobex, get out of the house, and buy a juice. So I was training for a couple hours a day, come back, have a protein shake. Later on, I would start juicing and then have a really healthy, lean supper. And I was doing that every day. That was like, I was just in this, locked in this, just taking care of myself physically, mentally, spiritually. That was all I did. And I really needed to do that. I really needed to reground myself. And it's been wonderful. For those of you who are finding yourself with time because of COVID, one of the reasons, back in the day that I became a personal trainer was because I was struggling with depression. I was diagnosed with dysthymia, which is a mild form of chronic depression, right? And of course, they put me on Paxil for about 6 months, which I absolutely disliked intensely. And I started to realize that there were things that made me feel good and things that didn't make me feel good. And I started going through life with column A and column B. This makes me feel good in a lasting, healthy way. This stays. This doesn't. It goes. I stopped drinking. Believe it or not, I used to smoke cigarettes, which I know is hard to believe, but I got rid of those. I started eating well. I started exercising. I started meditating, and so on. And it had such a profoundly positive impact on the way that I was enjoying life and how I felt. I was like a completely different person. that that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to share that with people. I was like, man, people need to know about this. People need to understand how profoundly exercise affects their state of life and their mind. And so at that point in life, I became a trainer, and I really enjoyed it and I really loved it. Those of you who have been around me for some time know that that's a big part of our practice. It's a big part of our Zen list. And being sort of, I don't want to say reunited with it, but reacquainted with it, I guess, I just want to reaffirm what an incredibly powerful tool it is and how it has affected me just in a week's time. It was absolutely incredible. And not having to focus on anything else, and I very purposefully put things aside that were distractions, and I just focused on exercise, diet, water, meditation. I spent hours and hours and hours every day doing that. I feel incredible. I feel extraordinarily present. And for those of you who have had moments of really pure presence, it can be a little weird. In the pure presence, past and future literally disappear. They don't really exist. They just disappear from your mind. They're no longer part of your conscious awareness. You're very present only in the moment. And I've been that way for several days now because I was just sort of in my cocoon, uh, taking optimum care of myself. And I'm starting to slip into very deep states of consciousness and presence. This most wonderful feeling in the world. Along with the most wonderful feeling in the world, I can tell you all that there's also something at first that's really kind of strange about it. Our mind is our world. And we spend most of our time prancing through with our attention our world. When all of that mind stuff stops is when you get to see reality. And it's very strange because it's nothing that you thought it was. When you transcend the mind, when you go beyond the mind, you exist in a way that is impossible to explain, that is impossible to put into words. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And you experience so directly the truth of your being, which is just love. And you just sit in it and you don't have a problem. And you don't need anything to be any different than it is. And you begin to realize yourself as a cork in a river, just being swept along karmically with whatever is unfolding. almost felt, not almost, that in this stillness, minus all of the distractions of daily life, all of the responsibilities of daily life, really focusing in on this retreat that I had created for myself, that in this short period of time, because I'm pretty practiced and I can get to these states pretty quickly at this point in my life, that I felt myself like being rewired. I wish I could describe it more clearly to you. I think that rewired, when I say that, what I mean is that more of the things that are not me, that cannot be me, were simply falling away. You know that over the past couple of years, there has been more and more in these satsangs this idea of pain, and that how we are different people when we are in pain. Becoming conscious to that and starting to realize that I can live without pain, regardless of my upbringing, regardless of the scars of my lovingly dysfunctional Italian childhood. That if I could consciously stay aware of the discomfort that was arising inside of me, that I could affect it. And not only could I affect it, I could eliminate it. Now, one of the most important things that I will ever tell you is that we are different people when we're in pain. We read self-help books one after another, and we're arranging our mind and we're understanding, oh, this is codependence and this is that, and I understand how it works, and somehow we arrange our mind so that it stops hurting us, and we stop. And we think, wow, I got it. I really got it this time. And you feel as though you're going to live the rest of your life and be fine. And then a day goes by or a week goes by, and all of a sudden the pain comes back up in you. And the pain takes over your mind. And you start thinking differently and choosing differently and being differently. And you're thinking, what happened? Yesterday I had this down. Last week I had this down pat. Why am I feeling this way? How can I be back in this state when I understood it in such a short time ago? What's happening is that there is you when you are in pain and the mind is taken over by pain. That's important to remember. And then there is you when there is no pain. And those two beings, those two minds, I guess you could say, do not operate the same way. They don't choose the same way. They don't think the same way. They don't be the same way. We're living in a world that for many thousands of years now, humans have been in tremendous amount of pain, and their pain has been spilling out onto one another. And our current circumstances couldn't be more evident of that. But no one is understanding that what's happening is that I'm in pain and the pain is taking over my mind. You will say things and act certain ways to the people that you love the most in the world, the people who are the closest and most important people in your life. You will berate and treat like garbage when you are in pain. How does that make any sense? Because you're a different person when you're in pain. Your mind, when I say you're a different person when you're in pain, what I mean is that the pain takes over your mind, and your mind thinks, perceives, and chooses very differently than it does when you're not in pain. That's the difference. And the problem for people is that most people are not honed to the point where they realize when the pain is starting in them. They don't even notice that the pain is starting in them. They notice that they're coming off the rails up here. Here's where they notice it, and it's already too late because the mind has been influenced by the pain. When we feel those very uncomfortable, undesirable feelings, we just want them off of us. We just want them gone. Am I making sense? That, if you want to throw some comments in here just to let me know that I'm connecting with you, I would appreciate it. And if not, that's okay too. Because I want to go on and I want to talk a little bit more about this pain. I want to make sure that you're with me. I know that there's a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to go on. If something pops up, I will refer to it. Thanks, Greg. I'm glad that it makes sense because I think that when you really boil things down, when you're really seeing things clearly, they're fairly simple. I don't even know that you can say fairly simple. They're simple. They're really simple, and it really makes sense. And what I'm giving to you here is something that is simple and that makes sense. Now, we're going to talk more about pain and sort of what is being rewired. And Kim says, I completely understand what you mean by rewired. In my experience, which is limited, is that it takes time and attention and awareness until it becomes natural. There is sort of a conscious rewiring, Kim, that happens through your Zen list, through your spiritual practice. You're very consciously rewiring yourself. What I experienced over the last 36 hours was that there was sort of an unconscious rewiring. Like my mind was something was happening that was not cognitive, was not conscious, and it was very, very strange. And I just had to kind of sit and breathe and sort of sort of just breathe through the panic of it and allow my neurology, I guess, to adjust. I'm not really sure what it was that I was quite letting go of. And Jamie says, absolutely, the action, the practice of consistently wiring these habits is simple, but painful and challenging. Yes, and so again, there is a conscious Zen list kind of like I'm rewiring, reworking myself. But then there is also sometimes something happens and a shift happens that almost seems beyond your control. And that's where you have to know how to surf those waves know how to mitigate those things when you feel like you're absolutely going crazy because your perception is changing. Um, it's very I just want you all to be prepared for some weirdness at times and know that you're okay. I'm way better now at noticing the pain coming so it doesn't take over the mind. Oh my God, what a wonderful, wonderful thing, Greg. It's really quite beautiful to actually know what's happening. If you can do something about it, great. If you can't do something about it, it's even feels better just that you understand that, wow, this pain is arising in me. Now let's talk about the pain, okay? This pain is being created inside you. This is wonderful, really wonderful to hear that everybody is starting to recognize their pain and stop it before it's taking over their mind. That is life changing, absolutely life changing. Now, the pain is happening inside us. It is being created by the mind body, not being created any other way. There is a psychological formation, which is a sort of gangle of thoughts and sensations that are related to those thoughts. Sometimes these sensations are not related to any thoughts, like rejection. If it's just rejection, that's a primitive wiring that is still in us that we have to deal with. Let me see what Ali has to say here. I really continue to honor my body and pay attention to the visceral reactions that occur. When my heart starts pounding or I start to sweat, I know my mind is in the driver's seat and I'm so much more aware of it. Yes, and you know something, Ali, before I go on? Isn't it amazing how often it happens? I mean, when we talk about pain, it doesn't have to be like this gargantuan pain, big scary pain. It can be very subtle, like dukkha, like subtle, just I feel a little weirdness inside me. It doesn't have to be like, my hair's on fire and I'm running down the street. There's so much of it. And it's sort of habitual. We habitually, we're born into a world basically blindfolded. Don't know who we are, what we are, where we are. And we open our eyes and we're really reliant on the people around us to tell us who we are, what we are, where we are. And everything that we think we know about ourselves really came from someone else. Our name, it's Wednesday, we talk about this a lot. Thanks, Jamie. It's I lost my spot in my head. Give me a second. We're born into this world and we don't know what we are, who we are, where we are. We're told by other people. Now, if we were born into a world full of conscious people that taught us what it is to be human and how to um, deal with our mind and what pain is and all of these other wonderful things, it would be very different for us. But what we're born into, the environment we're born into, is a very unconscious environment where people know very, very little about their humanness and their mind. And as such, we just very innocently pick up on the habits of an unconscious person, how to suffer, and the suffering becomes quite natural and even quote unquote normal. Everyone is suffering. Everyone's upset. Everyone's angry. Everyone wants to fight. Everybody is negative. You know, it's the world that we're born into. And we're very innocently conditioned into a habitual ways of thinking and being that produce these very undesirable effects. Very undesirable. So the strange thing is that you are creating. Hey, what's up, Greg? I didn't know you were lurking down there. Good to see you, man. That we create this pain for ourselves. We create it for ourselves. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? We don't do it consciously. We do it unconsciously out of conditioned habituation. We were born into a world where people were creating suffering for themselves, and their suffering spilling out onto other people, and we learned masterfully how to create pain and suffering for ourselves and spill it out onto other people. We are creating it for ourselves. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? But here's the beauty of these teachings. And you're seeing it in some of the rhetoric that's coming up in what people are writing. That you start to become aware that, hey, my mind body is doing something that I don't want it to do. By bringing my consciousness to it, I can affect it. And you're seeing that in your own practice, which is important. It's such a different, you experience life so differently when you're not in pain. The way that you treat people is so different. The way that you walk down the street or walk through a grocery store, you're smiling, you're wishing love on the people around you. Where you can help, you help. It's you feel so naturally in your own bliss that comes from nowhere. It's just what you are. It's such a wonderful way to exist. So what we're doing is we are awakening together here to how the mind body creates pain and suffering for us, and how to change that habit. It's just a bad habit. We've just been doing it for so long that we don't question it. We don't even realize a lot of times what's even happening. Now we're realizing what's happening. And we're saying, hey, mind body, there's no reason to feel this way in this moment. Nothing is wrong. How many times have you been upset when nothing was wrong? I'm reading Allie's comment. I've been asked, what are you on? I want some. It's funny. I get those kind of comments too myself. I'll tell you a quick story. I used to have an office down in a gym. I was still personal training down in Delray. And I started the Peaceful Minds Center and had an office in the back of a gym down there in Pineapple Grove. And I used to go in there. There's a large recovery community there. And there was one guy who was really in his practice and in recovery. And I would see him in the gym, quiet guy. He was always there, though, always in the gym, always working on himself, doing a good job. And, this is maybe after a year of me being there. I'm walking up to the gym to walk in, and I see him just kind of sitting outside the gym with his back up against the wall. And I could tell he was just kind of having a moment. So I went and I sat down next to him and asked him what was going on and kind of talked him through it. And he felt better. And he looked at me and he said, "Okay." He said, "What's your story?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I don't talk much." He said, "But I'm always here watching. And I'm watching you. I'm watching you in the gym. I'm watching you with people. And I'm thinking to myself, a bomb could go off in the street right next to us here, and I don't think the expression on this guy's face would change. What the hell is going on with you?" And I just said, I have really been practicing for a number of years to stay present and to be unaffected by what's going on around me. And I am very much in charge of my inner state. And he said, "Man, that is unbelievable." And I was just kind of laughing at myself that, you never know what people see. I often wonder, what people assume about me and what people think about me, because I don't really hear it. I don't really, I don't know. It's such a strange thing for me, because for me, my only focus is loving kindness, and I'm always trying my best to remove the obstacles to loving kindness so that my loving kindness can just shine out on everyone around me. And why I do that is is because that's what feels the best to me. Loving on people, really, really fun. I really just enjoy having all of this other garbage out of the way so I can just love, because I feel so incredible. I feel the absolute best and happiest that I could ever feel when that's happening. And that brings us back to the pain, because when I'm in pain, it's not like that. It's kind of weird when you're in sort of a position that I'm in. I think people make a lot of assumptions about you. And I've had some people, just a couple, say some negative things about me that really surprised me. How I don't know how they could get that from this, but um, anyway, my loving kindness shines through beautifully when I'm not in pain. When I'm in pain, it tends to get shut down. The mind starts to get involved, and then I'm not being myself anymore, being some mind-made version, some ego. Ali says that they are in pain and they judge it, and that's why they say what they do. Yeah, I certainly don't take anything anybody says personally, and there's not many derogatory comments. Just when you're in the position of a teacher, you're kind of in the crosshairs, and there's lots of opinions. But I do understand that people really are struggling and suffering, and I see it all around me. And that's what makes these projects so important to me, is that I know that they don't have to be that way, and they don't have to do that. And the most important thing to me is that everyone here has a really wonderful, happy life. This is not about some serious spiritual practice that takes your life over, and I've got to be so spiritual. I try very much to not be spiritual. I just I just want to have fun. I just want to have a happy life. And when my mind is in a peaceful state, I'm happy. My world is a peaceful place. When my mind is a mess, my world is a mess. It's my mind, it's not the world. When I'm in pain, same thing. I'm in a painful world. And that's why I work so hard on the causes and conditions for a peaceful mind, the Zenless stuff, the exercise, the eating, the juicing, all of that stuff that I've been doing, because I'm so settled inside that it's such a beautiful thing, such a beautiful way of being. Everywhere you go, you carry that energy with you, and it transforms the energy around you. People feel your calmness. People feel your stillness. They feel your peace, and and they very naturally gravitate and sort of resonate. I know you love that word, Allie, with that. And you just carry that beauty wherever you go, and it's really quite wonderful way to exist in this world. So when we talk about the pain, the discomfort that the mind body is creating unconsciously, what I'm trying to share with you is how to consciously how to consciously intervene, not in any strong-fisted way or anything like that, to consciously realize what's happening and change it. So now what do I do? There have been times, many times, where I will actually out loud or in my mind, depending on where I am, I will give commands to my mind and body. And I will say, mind, body, I understand that we are creating these sensations habitually, but we don't need to do that right now or ever again. Please stop. And it sounds hokey, but try it. The minute that you start to realize that there is pain arising in you, bring your consciousness to it. Now, when you bring your consciousness to it, I don't want you to think about it. I just want you to observe it, the same way you would observe a flower or anything. But don't think about it. Don't label it. Don't judge it. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just notice what's there. Don't make a thing out of it. When you start calling it anxiety, depression, anger, this, that, maybe on some at some points in life, maybe that's useful, I guess, to identify what you're feeling. But at this point, it's not necessary. When you call it anxiety, now you've made a thing out of it. Anxiety. You've made mental stuff out of it. Oh my God, I have anxiety. I need this pill to fix my anxiety. But what is really going on? Remember how I always talk to you about critical thinking, about objectivity? It's a very important part of spirituality. And you will find that the less pain you're in and the more clear your mind is, the more intelligent you are. That you can look at things more intelligently and more clearly because you're not being blinded by all of these painful emotions. And so you're looking, and we're back to the simple, right? We're back to the simple. So here's what's happening. Okay, there's some pain coming up in me. And I don't mean sadness. I don't mean the sadness of loss. That is a catharsis. It is a healing process. When you're sad, be sad. Cry it out. You'll feel much better. It really helps you process that energy. However, when it comes to these uncomfortable sensations that arise in you, say they're coming up in me. I close my eyes and I bring my attention to it. Bring my attention to see what is there, what's there. And when you start looking with your attention at the discomfort, the uncomfortable sort of energetic, emotional sensations, whatever they are, they start like wanting to hide from you. They start moving around. They don't like being in the spotlight of your consciousness. Something strange about it. And you look at it and you think, isn't this weird? But what can this sensation do to me? Why is this sensation even a problem? Well, it doesn't feel good. But other than that, so what? So what? There's nothing to be afraid of here. This can't do anything to me. When you realize it's coming and you bring your consciousness to it, you stop it before it takes over your mind. So that's why I could be in complete pain and disarray inside and teach satsang and no one would ever know it. Because it's here, it's not in my mind. my mind I'm still in command of consciously. The really fun thing about it is that what's happening for me, and what has even been sort of unconsciously happening over a couple of strange evenings, is that that pain is getting wired out of me. Like my mind body is in agreement. Like, yeah, we don't need to do this. Let's not do this anymore. Imagine how much fun that is. It's very strange, but the pain stops coming. And you have to get used to that because this pain for most of us has been a part of us as long as we can remember. And we never knew what to do with it. We never recognized it. We never thought it was something different from us or something that was just sort of blindly, habitually being created by the mind body. Now we know. Now you know. Now the jig is up for your pain. Now your pain has no hope of sticking around. It's only a matter of time. Because now you are consciously aware that when I am in this sort of discomfort, if I bring my consciousness to it and I ask my mind body to stop creating this and I just breathe and stay present, you'll notice that you can affect it. You may even be able to eliminate it. As you become a more and more skilled practitioner, this pain may be like a whisper in the back room. I think that this is one of the most important realizations that I've ever had. And, you know, growing up, getting hit with a strap and a wooden spoon and lots of emotional abuse and all kind of weird craziness, coming out of my childhood in a tailspin, not knowing which way was up, not understanding in tandem with that at all what it is to be human, how I create pain and suffering for myself, what pain was, how it affected my mind, not knowing any of that, it makes perfect sense that I struggled early on in life. But now, with this new information and this understanding, for me, this direct experiencing of what I'm describing to you, you are free to enjoy your life. Everything is fun when you're not in pain. Cleaning the toilet is fun when you're not in pain. I mean that. You know, um, we have come to a point in these peaceful mind center teachings where they feel mostly complete. And I'm seeing the effect that these recent teachings are having on people and makes me feel very, very good. When when someone is in pain and you're around them, you can feel it. You can sense it. It's a weird feeling. But also when someone's not in pain and you're around them, you can sense that and you can feel that. And it'll be interesting to see what opens up for all of us here as we start to live our life without pain. A life without pain. Wouldn't that be wonderful? If there are any questions or comments, now would be the time to post them. There is about a 10-second delay, so I will sip water patiently just to hear any of your comments on this because these are some of the most important things that I've ever said. And important meaning that these things, I think, are what will have the most immediate and profound impact on your life if you're understanding what I'm saying and you're practicing and you're having the direct experiencing of what I'm saying. Hey, Antoinette. This is good stuff. And so, you can sit in meditation like we're going to do now, and I'm going to guide you through some of this process that I've been describing to you. Um, you can do this when you're in the supermarket. You can do this wherever you are by just being aware, consciously aware of your inner state. And once you start to notice how that you can really affect it, like you really can affect it. Like, my God, like what I'm saying to you is that you, without drugs, without medication, without anything, can consciously affect your pain. This is what I'm saying to you. I've experienced it personally myself. That's like, oh, wow, like, wow, wow. Because that's the whole problem. Most people, and then we'll get to a couple of comments. Most people are not moving toward what they love. They're moving away from what causes them pain. And most people don't realize how much pain is the guiding force in their life. They're not moving toward what they desire, they're moving away from what they don't want, what causes them pain. And so if I'm backing away, I'm not even looking where I'm going. And this is why we continually end up in situations that we're not trying to consciously manifest, because we're backing into them, because we're backing away from our pain. It truly is thanks to you, your mentorship, your teachings. You're going to make me blush. All right. Uh, and me remaining accountable and teachable, that I have been able to have the direct effects of a peaceful mind. Love you, Tom. I love you too, Allie. And you know something? Um, you have been a wonderful student. And every time I would hold your nose in something that you really didn't want to see, you stayed there begrudgingly. And, that's just not an easy thing to do. And I always say that in these teachings, you've got to be willing to be wrong. You've got to really be willing to let go of what you believe to be true and right, and that opens you up. And you were certainly willing to be wrong, albeit begrudgingly. But I really appreciate your kind words, and it really always it fills my gas tank up when I know that these teachings are having a profound effect on people. That's really what I live for. Thank you so much for sharing this. Uh, you are human as we are. I listen intently to learn. What you say is true, and your experience. And absolutely, the thing that I am always, and thank you again for your kind words, Kim. The thing that I always want people to realize is that I am no different from them, and neither is any other spiritual teacher. And that the difference is that my relationship to what's going on inside me is different from a beginner's relationship to what's going on inside them. But those things still go on inside me. And the reason that I am so open about that is because I think that it's easy to make the mistake of saying that, oh, well, that's for Tom. Tom can be that way, but I can't because I can't be Tom. That's not true at all. Um, and I wanna kind of take that um, obstacle out of the way. That Tom is human just like me. Tom feels the same things that I feel inside. Tom just knows how to deal with them. That's all. All that I've done is understand what it is to be human, how the mind body works, how it creates suffering for me, and how the pain takes over the mind. That's important stuff. When you know that stuff and you practice, when you're being an idiot, at least you know why you're being an idiot. I mean, you might not be able to stop it in the beginning, especially when it comes to friends and family members and stuff, because those buttons go deep. But um, you will get relief just in knowing what's going on, even if you can't affect it just yet. And so it's your it's your job to practice. It's your job to take these teachings and try them on and really truly develop a consistent practice. And then it's my job to answer your questions about, I was doing this, and am I seeing this clearly? Am I not seeing this clearly? What did you mean by this? What did you mean by that? You can pick my brain a little bit in these forums so that you can be clear about what you're practicing, because there is a really fine minutia. There are really a lot of very little subtleties that are easily missed in these teachings. And the more clear you are about that fine minutia, the more fruitful your practice will be. Okay? All right, so we're going to get to our meditation. So remember that meditation is the most important part of our satsangs. And so I encourage you to stay. Some people cut out, like the communion Catholics when I was growing up. They get the communion, walk right out church, back of the church. Um, this is the most important part, especially when we're meditating together, whether we're in the same room together. Doesn't matter. The energy, the holographic universe, we're all connected. And, we are be calming ourselves and putting calming energy into the world, which it really needs. So, sit comfortably. Close your eyes. And as you hear the sound of the bell, let it clear your mind and bring your attention to this moment. I always like to remind you that you are your own guru. Trust yourself and make this practice your own. Relax yourself, your physical body, in whatever way that you see fit. I encourage you to begin to breathe more and more slowly as you do this. And we'll take several moments just to relax and make sure that we're comfortable physically. Slowly and gently guide your attention to your body. Typically, where we feel discomfort is down the center of our torso. These are our energy centers, some of them, called chakras. And so you may notice some energy in the middle of your chest, sometimes in your abdomen. But without thinking about it, just observe these sensations inside your body. And if there are no sensations, then good for you. You may be noticing that when you bring your attention to a sensation, it tends to move away from the attention. That's probably because when we bring our attention to it, we realize immediately that we don't want this here, we don't want to create it, and it stops. So just stay here for several moments, just observing. Don't push away, don't pull closer, don't think about, label, or judge. Just breathe, relax, and watch. Just become aware. You may be noticing that these sensations are starting to relax. And at this point, you can even say, either out loud or in your mind, to your mind body, mind body, stop creating these sensations. We don't need them. And I'm asking you kindly to stop creating them. And you can say that over and over again if need be. Now smile, and I mean really force yourself to smile. And begin to consciously cultivate feelings of loving kindness, compassion, and patience. We've removed the obstacle for the most part, the pain. And now we want to let our true nature just shine through. The joy of being. Sometimes I'll imagine in my head something that brings me great joy, like a puppy, or a beautiful scenery, or a rainbow. And consciously let those feelings flow through your chakras, familiar and comfortable with them being there all the time. Consciously train the mind-body that this is the natural state. Now rest your attention in the vast space of silence in your mind. There are two things in your mind. There are thoughts, and there is the space of silence that the thoughts rise in. Have no interest in any thoughts, and rest your attention in the silence. Just enjoy this peace until you hear the bell. I'd be curious to know if you were able to affect the uncomfortable sensations in your body, which are there most of the time, and if you were able to feel the difference in the energy when you smiled and started to consciously cultivate loving kindness. I'd be curious to know if you were able to affect your state that way. And so I'll hang out here for a little bit. If anybody wants to comment. Hey, Jeff, didn't know you were here. Thanks for being here. Top fan. I will begin to say goodbye. If anybody wants to make a comment, that will be, even if I stop this, I'll be looking back at it. You know that I always say that I love you all very much, and it's always an honor to share this time and space with you. And we will have our online retreat / refuge on Sunday. On Zoom, I will be sending the invites out. Yes. Hi, Christine. The smile radiated through my entire body. I think you mean my entire body. Thanks, Greg. I'll see you tomorrow, buddy. It's interesting how I think that we're very habituated into this painful feeling, and when we consciously begin to change it, wow, wonderful things happen. So I'm going to end the video now. Thank you all so much for being here, and I will see some of you on Sunday, and not will be back next Wednesday. Have a great night.